Hey everyone, welcome to Mythology Explained. In today's video, we're going to discuss 5 of the most powerful goddesses in Egyptian mythology. Goddesses so powerful that their powers often dwarfed those of the other deities in the Egyptian mythos. And just a quick comment before we get started, this list isn't ranked and is by no means comprehensive, so let us know in the comments who else you think deserved to be included. Also, this video will only feature female deities. Starting off this list is Tefnut. The children of Atum-Ra, Tefnut, the personification of moisture, and her consort, Shu, the personification of air, were the first divine pairing. They were the second and third gods in the Ennead, which was the first 9 gods to exist in the Heliopolitan creation myth. Atum-Ra was an androgenous demiurge, and the accounts of how he independently created children are colourful, to say the least. In one, he masturbates and impregnates himself by swallowing his own semen. He then gives birth, sneezing out Shu and spitting out Tefnut. Initially, Atum-Ra, Shu, and Tefnut were conjoined as a divine trinity, the one who developed into 3. For creation to continue, a separation was necessary. This came about either accidentally, by Shu and Tefnut becoming lost in the surrounding darkness, or intentionally, by the brother-sister pair heading out to explore. Atum-Ra became lonely, so he plucked the eye from his forehead and sent it out to look for his lost children. In some versions, Shu and Tefnut are missing for a long period of time and are adults when the eye finds them. Tefnut was associated with 2 other goddesses, Ma'at, the personification of the divine order, and the Eye of Ra, which was embodied by various goddesses at different times. Shu and Tefnut came together in a sexual union, and from it came the next generation of primordial deities, the 4th and 5th gods of the Ennead, Geb and Nut. Coming in at number 2 is Nut. A primordial deity, Nut personified the vault of the heavens, the firmament in which the stars whirled overhead. Her parents were Shu and Tefnut. Her consort was Geb, the personification of the earth, and together they had 4 children, Osiris, Isis, Set, and Nephthys. Also, in some accounts, Horus the Elder, one of Horus's forms, was one of their children. Rather than a primordial void existing before creation, the ancient Egyptians believed in the primeval waters of Nun, which were boundless and infinite, swirling and teeming with all the creative potential, matter, and energy to create the universe. Because of this, it was believed that the sky was the barrier that separated creation from the waters of Nun. The way I conceptualize this is by thinking of some stone-like object encased in an air bubble deep in the ocean, only on a cosmic scale. Though she was associated with weather phenomena, thunder was said to be her laughter and rain was said to be her tears, she also had a motherly connection to the celestial bodies that shined and sparkled from up high. It was thought that the stars travelled through Nut's body during the day and were birthed by her each night. Similarly, the inverse was thought about the sun, travelling through Nut at night and being born again each morning. Interestingly, it was thought that the red hues that painted the early morning sky were the blood lost by Nut during childbirth as she produced the sun anew. Nut was usually shown in anthropomorphic form, often arched over Geb, who lay beneath her. There are several myths that address the separation of earth and sky, not unlike how Gaia and Uranus were separated through castration in Greek mythology. In one version, Geb and Nut were locked in an embrace so tight that nothing could exist between them, so Shu, at the command of Atum, was sent to separate them, allowing life to flourish. Taking the number 3 spot is Isis. Isis's origins are obscure, and her existence doesn't seem to be attested to until the 5th dynasty. Unlike many other prominent deities, no town or city is purported to be the location of her birth or burial. Despite this, though, in later periods, she unequivocally became the most important goddess in the Egyptian pantheon, and relevant to virtually every aspect of ancient Egyptian life. Her cult even spread throughout the Roman Empire, and evidence of it has been found as far as Britain. Isis was most commonly depicted as a beautiful woman wearing a dress, her head adorned with either the solar disk, the hieroglyphic sign of the throne, or cow horns. The last generation of primordial gods, Geb, the personification of the earth, and Nut, the personification of the sky, had 4 children: Osiris, Isis, Set, and Nephthys. Osiris was Isis's consort, and Set was Nephtys's, making 2 brother-sister pairings. After Set murdered and dismembered Osiris, usurping his brother's place on the throne, it was Isis who recovered the pieces and resurrected Osiris so that he could briefly return to the land of the living and impregnate her with a son, Horus. Then, in the decades-long struggle that followed, in which both Set and Horus vied for the throne, she championed her son and supported him through many trials and tribulations, which saw Horus, after a harrowing gauntlet of contests and challenges, win the crown. Isis was the most powerful magic wielder in the Egyptian pantheon. Her resurrection of Osiris and the many amazing ways she protected Horus are testament to this. Perhaps the myth that best showcases her magical mastery, though, is the myth in which she coerces and extorts Ra into revealing his true name to her. She conjured a snake and placed it in Ra's path. The snake bit Ra, who was then racked with excruciating pain. Despite the best efforts of many of the other gods, none could alleviate his agony and deliver him from his plight, for it was by the contrivances of Isis that only she could heal him, which she offered to do, but only if Ra told her his true name. At first Ra refused, but his capacity for suffering wasn't limitless, so eventually he capitulated and told her. Coming in at number 4 is Sekhmet. Sekhmet was a goddess of 2 opposing aspects, destruction and healing, and her name meant powerful or the female powerful one. As a goddess of destruction, she was the spear and sword of divine retribution, the instrument through which the displeasure of the gods was unleashed. In appearance, she was part human and part animal, as was the case for many of the ancient Egyptian gods. Her body was that of a woman, but her head was leonine, equipped with a fierce maw with deadly fangs. Adding to her imposing look was the sun disk that often surmounted her head. Through her, death was first introduced to the world. She was sent down as the Eye of Ra to punish humanity, which had devolved into a state of ungratefulness and rebelliousness. However, as she slaughtered countless people and covered the land in blood, her appetite for carnage grew, so she had to be tricked, incapacitating her long enough for restraint to return and trump impulse and indulgence. Her role as a warrior of great power and prowess can be seen throughout ancient Egyptian mythology. Sekhmet accompanied Ra through the underworld at night on his solar bark. Aboard, she was a staunch and stalwart defender, helping to fight off the serpent Apophis, the great destroyer. She was the deadliest archer of all the gods and goddesses, so much so that her arrows were given magical and malignant personas, personified as the 7 messengers that afflicted humanity with plague and destruction. Because of her control over these afflictions, it was thought she could ward them off. Sekhmet became strongly associated with medicine and healing. As a patron of healing and medicine, she was called Sekhmet, Mistress of Life. Taking up our last spot is Neith. Known as the Great Mother, Neith was a powerful, many-faceted goddess. One interpretation of her name means the Terrifying One. She was both one of the oldest, worshipped since the prehistoric and early dynastic periods, and one of the longest-lasting deities in ancient Egypt, remaining relevant and enjoying a venerated place until the end of the Pharaonic Age. Because of her perennial inclusion in the Egyptian pantheon, she was worshipped for thousands of years, which makes her mythology complicated, as her significance changed depending on the place and time. She was a warrior goddess, a creator goddess, a funerary goddess, and a mother goddess. Her sphere of influence was vast, and as such encompassed many aspects of ancient Egyptian life. Called the ruler of arrows and the mistress of the bow, Neith's earliest symbols consisted of crossed arrows and crossed bows. Other early theophoric names, such as Neith fights and Neith is victorious, also highlight her aspect as warrior goddess, an aspect for which the Greeks associated her with the goddess Athena. As a creator goddess, Neith was associated with the waters of Noon, the primordial waters that existed before creation itself. In one version, it was Neith who created both Ra, the sun god, and Apophis, a serpentine incarnation of chaos and destruction that wants to unmake the world. In this iteration of the creation myth, Neith is the ultimate demiurge, which is to say that she was the deity responsible for the creation of the universe, though there are several versions in which different deities have primacy. The concept of parenthood virtually coincides with creation as it pertains to the deities responsible for the genesis of existence, so the fact that Neith was an archetypal maternal figure comes as no surprise. By being the first entity to give birth, it was Neith that brought the miracle of childbirth into the world. And that's it for this video. If you enjoy the content, please like the video and subscribe to the channel.